This is part 4 out of 4 on restoring this IGT Joker's Wild Draw Poker Machine back to its former glory. Let's get to work recapping that CRT monitor. I'm Lawton Barnes and you are in the Metal Shop. This is the RGB 1401A CRT monitor from an IGT Fortune 2 Draw Poker Machine. And the screen on this monitor is all janky. It jitters, it flickers, it bleeds the colors. All of those things are the telltale signs of failing electrolytic capacitors. And so we're going to recap it. We're going to replace all of the capacitors on the chassis of this monitor. Before I do, let me say that if you have a Player's Edge poker machine with a Sironix monitor in it, I do not recommend this procedure. I have tried to recap this monitor several times and failed every time. The Sironix 1492 monitor is just a more sophisticated design. It is a more complicated circuit board. And when one component fails, it tends to take a bunch of other ones with it, which can make them very tricky to troubleshoot. So this one, however, is the RGB 1401A monitor out of a Fortune 2. It's an older design. The electronics are simpler. I am much more confident that I can do this one myself. If you have a Sironix 1492 monitor in your Player's Edge, instead of watching this video, I'm going to recommend that you watch another one, and it is called Repair a Dead Monitor on Your IGT Player's Edge Poker Machine. Also, if you pull your monitor out of your machine and find it completely covered in filth, and you're like, ooh, I need to give this monitor a bath, I can show you how to do that. And that video is called How to Safely Clean and Restore a CRT Monitor, a step-by-step guide. You'll find that video and many more on this YouTube channel and at metalshop.poker. Okay, the parts kit that we'll be using today is a cap kit. This contains all the pieces I need. It came off of eBay. It was about 25 bucks, I think, with much of that being the shipping charges. And a lot of times they'll give you a diagram showing you where all the parts are located as well as a parts list. This just has the small list here, so I'll have to make do with that. But it is a fairly simple circuit board, and let's go ahead and get into this. Before I go poking my fingers into any monitor, there's always a step that we do first, and that's to discharge the CRT tube. And the reason why we do this is because that tube can deliver an electric shock even when it is not plugged in. So discharging them is extremely easy. You use a flat head screwdriver, a cord with 2 alligator clips, clip one end of it to the metal chassis of the monitor. The other end goes underneath the anode cup. And once it contacts that metal clip underneath there, we have now discharged. The monitor is safe to handle. When I stuck it under there, you could even hear a faint popping sound. That was the electricity discharging through it. Once I've discharged, the next step is we're going to take this circuit board off of the monitor. There's several places that it's connected. I'll just start looking at them until I get them all. So this neck board pulls right off the back by pulling it toward me. The anode cup is simply a matter of pressing in until it pops out. This is our yoke connector over here in the corner. That one came right up. This looks like a power cord. And then on this side over here, there it goes, that came right off. And this is the control panel up top. That also lifted right off, and then we got 2 Phillips screws. Here's one more thing. There's a little ground wire. It's usually green and it connects to the neck board right there. And that one is rather firmly, there it goes. Okay, that should lift out. Let's see if we got them all. Okay, I think we've got another screw holding it in place right here on the flyback, which is a little different, but hey, it slid right out. So, this is the board we'll be repairing. The capacitors we'll be replacing are these ones with the silver top. Here, 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 and here. Oh, another thing that's always good is to inspect your flyback transformer and see if it has any cracks in it. A failing flyback will often have literal cracks in the plastic, and I don't see any. Doesn't 100% mean that they don't exist, but I don't see any. Okay, this is our cap kit. Those are the parts we'll be replacing. This is my list. Here's my little highlighter I'm going to mark them off with when I'm done. I've got my parts laid out here where I can see what the values of each component is. I have a paint pen that I'm going to use to put a little red dot on top of the part after I've replaced it. That way I can tell which ones are new and which ones are old. Okay, let's get started. Let's try to look for C46 and C80. They're going to be small. That's a good possibility. That is 46. 46 is here. 80 is there. And let's pull them out. C46. And done. Just to confirm, that one is 100 at 16 volt. You're gone. You'll be replaced with this. When I replace it, I'm going to always check for polarity. I'm going to check for polarity. The positive looks like it goes there. Negative there. Open those up a little bit. Yes, that's confirmed. Positive and negative are in the right place. And I want to mark that as being a new piece. One thing worth noting is that the engineer who designed this board went to the trouble of making sure that all the components were largely numbered from left to right, and that all of their negative sides were pointing in the same direction. And if you look at it from this end, where I've got the stripe on the negative side of the capacitors, they all line up. That is not always the case that they're designed that way, but I am glad that they did. That's very nice work. So, let's get some solder on the last one. Yeah, I think that looks real nice. Okay. Everything is marked as being new and replaced. They all line up the same way. And I am feeling pretty good that this is going to repair all of our monitor's woes. Okay. a couple of little screws here. There was only one screw going through this flyback transformer. I wish I had the others, but since I don't, it does tell me that someone has been in here before. And I'll just have to make do with the one that I've got. Now we shall replace the anode cup. I'm going to put a little knot in it to take the slack out. That will hook into there. This will hook under the top, like that. And when it grabs, you can feel it. So that is hooked into place. Here comes our yoke connector over here. This looks like the RGB signals. Red, green, and blue coming from the board. That attaches right there. This is the yoke connector. Push straight on from the back. Here's a power cord. Just gonna go right there, like that. And here's our little control panel. And and the little ground wire to the neck board is right here. I don't see anything loose. I say we are ready to power it up. All I have to do is turn on the test pattern generator and hit the power. Ready? Made a good sound. It crackled. Well, how is it? That's pretty much rock solid. It certainly got rid of all the flickering issue. We've got a little bit of a distortion here, but I might be able to just sort of dial that out. Let's see what we got. We'll pull that, touch that out. Okay, that's vertical position. That's horizontal position. Where was horizontal width? Ooh, look at the brightness. Hey, that looks pretty good. That looks real good. That looks amazing. Let's see some different patterns. It's rock solid. We've gotten rid of all the jitters. We have very crisp lines in the black and white checkerboard pattern. Same with the bars. Those are about as good as I've ever seen bars. We still have some burn into the CRT by the card backs, but that is impossible to remove. These are these red, green, and blue gain patterns, and so I'm going to adjust this until I try to get an even gradient from top to bottom. Red, green, and blue are well balanced. Okay, that is a beautifully set up monitor. One concern I do have here is that my horizontal width could be spread out a little more. That's often done with a coil on the chassis. I'll bet I see it right now and I'll bet it's broken. But we are probably talking about this component right here, which you need a plastic tool to adjust, and it looks kind of like it's broken anyway. So I may just sort of leave that the way it is. It's not too bad, and once we get it in the machine, I'll determine if I need to adjust that any. But hey, let's put it in. All right, here we go. And the connector was down here. And let's power it up and see what happens. Okay, that monitor looks about as good as brand new. Look at my custom card backs. Fantastic. Keep those jacks. Oh yeah, you know, you got to get 2 pair on this machine to win. It is not a jacks or better. 2, 3, 4, 5, give me a straight. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, well, nonetheless, that monitor looks pretty great. I mean, besides some mild burn-in, that is going to provide years of trouble-free service, and I am pleased with the work we've done here. All in all, this concludes our restoration of the Caesars Fortune 2 IGT Joker Wild Draw Poker Machine. It is ready to play, and I am thrilled and delighted with how it's come out. I want to thank you for taking your time to hang out in the metal shop with me. And if you missed the first 4 videos in this series, you can go back and watch all of those on this YouTube channel and at metalshop.poker. Until next time, keep on rocking like ducking.